Wonderful. Well, I want to back up here and talk a little bit about your experiences in the Middle East. I think that there's a lesson to be learned, and I would love to hear your wisdom on how communities have been built and how, when you've been playing in the Middle East, in these communities, how you felt the best way forward would be for both musicians or people in general to look at community building abroad.
Well, in June of 2004, I took a trip to Iraq. I took my guitar and a video camera and some friends, and I just played music on the street for people. I wasn't part of a USO tour or any part of any organized sanction thing. I just played music on the street for Iraqis. At night I'd go and I'd play for US soldiers in their time when they were off duty. And I would just play a few songs, and people would gather around and clap and dance and sing, and then I'd turn my camera on and say, "Tell me about your life." So they'd tell me about their experience of being bombed, where they hid during the bombings. I met a heavy metal band that used bits of telephone wire, and they'd take the plastic housing off of it and replace their guitar strings, and they'd break a string because they just didn't have strings. People who were suffering every day because they didn't have drinking water. If you drank the water out of the tap, it would poison you, and their children were dying from microbes in the water. I met US soldiers who said, you know, before I came here, I believed that we were doing the right thing. I even met one guy who came there, who was signed up on September 12, 2001, the day after September 11th. He said, I'm coming here to protect my country because Bush has told me that there's weapons of mass destruction and that Saddam was involved in 9/11. And now we found out that not only were those things not true, but that the Bush administration deliberately lied to us in order to sell this war to the American public. And so now, how do we get out of that, you know? Well, the first thing is that we have to have empathy for people. We have to understand that, you know, people in Iraq are just like us. They want the same things. They want to come home from work. They want to have food on their plates. They want to get their kids to school. They want to have a little time to enjoy on the weekends. The U.S. soldiers that are over there, they want more than anything else just to come home, get back to their lives, get back to their family, their children. And that should be our first priority, you know. And secondly, we have to create an economic situation there that can stabilize the region, you know. That's why people are battling over there, because they're battling over the same small amount of resources. So it's going to take an international effort. It's going to take a president who's willing to say to France, to Germany, to Italy, to Spain, to all the countries that we have rejected up to this point, you know, and divided between the axis of the willing, or the coalition of the willing, and the axis of evil, you know, like France is the axis of evil, you know, like, because they don't agree with the war. So we have to reach out to those countries, and we have to say, hey, we all need to come together to support the people of Iraq in creating the best political situation there and stability there. You know? And the way that I think that you do that is by getting rid of this right and wrong attitude. It's the same thing when I visited in Israel and Palestine. You know, I met people on both sides of the conflict there who were so willing to extend themselves, go far beyond. You know, I met people who had lost children in the crisis, in the conflict, an Israeli woman and a Palestinian woman who had both lost family members, who came together and formed this group called the Bereaved Parents Family Circle. And they talk about their loss. And from it, they didn't say, we are going to choose sides and we're going to beat down your side and we're going to beat down their side. They said, we want to see an end to all political violence. We want to see this decided by saying, perhaps we can listen to your needs and you can listen to my needs, and somehow we can come to a mutual understanding based on listening to each other's needs, not just fighting for my own needs. And so we have to raise that consciousness, and I think that that's ultimately the road that we need to go down as a world, and the road that we need to go down as a nation.
Music for Democracy. We don't just interview musicians like yourself, we also interview politicians. What would be a question that you would like us to ask on your behalf to a politician?
I think the main problem that I see today is the perpetual campaigning. That politicians today, especially members of Congress who are only serving 2 years, they have to be making decisions based upon the whims of this week's polls, because if they don't, they're going to perhaps lose the next election because of the way that they voted on something, or the way that they, the decisions that they make. So I want to say, or ask politicians, how can we break this cycle of the perpetual campaign process so that it affords an opportunity for our leaders to make real decisions based on 5-10 years down the line, not just based on this 24-hour news cycle that we're in right this second.
Speaking about that 24-hour news cycle, so much information out there for young people to look through, get bombarded with, trying to sell them things. What would you recommend to people who really want to have a little bit of help seeing through the flack and getting to true news sources? What do you turn to when you want to know what's going on in the world?
Well, I think that the best thing to do is look at a lot of different things. Tune into the TV stations, watch your local community station, watch Fox, watch CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC. Watch a little bit of all of them and see where they tend to go with their ideas. Read the newspaper, read several newspapers, go online, read several different opinions about things. But in terms of presidential politics, I find that the best way to make decisions is to listen to what the candidates themselves say, not what the pundits are regurgitating what they say. Because if you watch CNN, you'll see, an hour of news, and in that you'll only see 3 10-second sound bites from the candidate. And the rest of the news is some pundit who's really just spouting his own beliefs about what that candidate is saying or thinking. And they use those sound bites very cleverly. So I would say go online, go on YouTube, and just Google John McCain's latest speech, and listen to what he had to say. Google Barack Obama's speech today in St. Louis or wherever he was, and find his speech from today and listen to his speech. And from that, I think you'll hear the candidates, the difference that's in what they're talking about and the difference in what they're trying to communicate.
Great. So talking about all these types of issues and young people and where we're heading, and technology really it seems to be a theme here. We seem to be moving forward. What do you think about the way in which technology has the capacity to unite people? What should young people know about technology and how to use it the right way?
Well, I don't know the right way to use technology, but I do know that we have an opportunity to what we call build community, So through technology, we have the opportunity to link up with other people around the world, around this country, or in your own neighborhood that maybe share some of the same feelings that you do. And if we want to get things done, if we want our voice to be heard, the way to do it is to magnify it through numbers. So the more that we link up with like-minded people, the louder our voice becomes, and the further the echoes go. And so that's what I say, take advantage of that opportunity to do that kind of community building online.
Last question for you. You're here now. You're inspiring a lot of people. Who has inspired you to be who you are, both in terms of your music and your politics and your example?
Well, I get inspired every day by so many people. Sometimes it's a fan will just say something to me. Sometimes it'll be a song or a book that I'm reading or something I see. I'm inspired by you guys today doing the work that you're doing. But one of my heroes recently is in Bali, and she's a woman, an American woman named Robin Lim. And she started a birthing clinic there. She'd given birth to her own babies naturally, and she just decided that she was going to help Balinese women give birth to their babies naturally without, hospital and drugs. And she became a midwife. And when she first started, she just do 1 or 2 a month, and now she's delivering over 3 babies a day. Last year, they did over 1,000 babies. And they have a hospital called Bumi Sehat. And you can look it up online. And the reason that she's so inspiring to me is because she was just an everyday person who had this skill. She had delivered her own babies herself, and she's like, I wonder if I can help other people with that. and she did it, and she continued to grow it and grow it, and that's what I encourage people around the world to do, which is like find whatever it is that you do well, and then give it, because the best gift that you can give to anybody is yourself. So whatever it is that you do good, find a way to apply it to giving to other people. If you're a musician, if you're a teacher, if you're a flower arranger, if you work in the financial world, find out a way that you can help somebody else through what you do. And so Robin Lim at the moment is my hero.
Thank you, Michael.